Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Voice in the Hollow. A Voice in the Hollow. I'm
Yeah.
your host, Miguel Ortega, and this is my lovely co host, Tran.
Hey everyone.
So, thanks for joining us as we wrap this whole project up. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this is something like 40 something episodes in, showing a weekly breakdown of the making of an animated uh, Swahili African fable, all in Unreal Engine 5. With two people that really didn't know Unreal Engine 5 that well to start with. So,
Well, yeah, because we started this when it was like the preview or
well, Unreal Engine 5 had come out like
early
a
access.
week before.
Yeah, it was like beta.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knew it well.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
yeah.
think anybody knows it well today, Unreal Engine 5. So they probably do. I'm just talking crap. But yeah. So that's it. So we're just showing our journey into making this making this film. So Tran is gonna kick us off.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been lighting the last sequence and shot modeling and polishing it, and it's like 17 shots or something like that, which is pretty short sequence compared to some of the other shots that I've done. So some sequences are like 40 something shots. And I'll actually go through some of the process of this. So on the past few streams, I've been mentioning how like, yeah, I like this thing and then I render it and it doesn't match the render. And I've showed a couple examples of like, yeah, the render didn't come out the same as the viewport. But today I actually have some like really good examples. So uh, I set up 13 renders or 13 shots last night to render, and then I woke up today, and a lot of them came out really bad. And then I'll have something to show you as far as like what happens when it goes real bad. And this happens all the time. So whenever I kick off a bunch of shots, I don't really expect them all to work out. I actually expect something to go wrong. Um, and yeah, okay, so I'll play this shot here. Okay, so this is one of the shots that I kicked off to render last night, right? And I don't think the scene is really that complex in terms of lighting. I like what I like about this shot is like there's some lens flare coming in and out, and then I have a lot of dynamic dirt, kind of pouring and spilling it in. And then let me just minimize this. I have to minimize it because if I actually have it running, it's going to crash with Premiere. Premiere is like surprisingly really heavy on your graphics card, considering like what it is. It's like a 2D software. So yeah. And then this is what the render turned out like.
So her face is like glowing, like that's her eyes are.
Yeah.
What is that? Was there like a hidden light or something?
No, there's no way. There's a light in there, right? It looks so scary. Lens flare is not there. There's all kinds of multiple issues. Obviously, the biggest one.
Can you make that full screen?
Yeah. There's all kinds of issues here. Like looking at the small ones, there's.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't make my face full screen.
That one.
But let's come back here. I have to minimize. Let's pull this up. So there's all kinds of issues. One, obviously the face, and then two, the background has like these little weird. The way it goes out of focus is like all these little circles, right? So you can see here, and I don't like how that looks. I think that looks very strange. And then I have no lens flare, and I have her Ala. The biggest problem is she's like kind of glowing and self-illuminated. So there's light in on her face from the mask.
That's super weird.
It's super weird. And then there's like kind of like this weird light bouncing around on her body somehow. And this is I could show you another shot with the mask. Let me just minimize
So a
this.
few of them broke the same way.
Yeah, they all broke the same way.
They're consistently broken.
Yeah, they're consistently broken. Let me just load this one up. So it's going to be it's going to require a little bit of patience because I have two things running. It does bother me how Premiere is so heavy on my computer. It's like I don't know. It's just like 2D software. Like I don't know why. Feels like it competes with Unreal in terms of like my GPU.
Yeah, it takes up a ton of resources.
Yeah, like too much resources. It's not very efficient.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is like on this project, since we're doing like the 4K renders, it's it's a lot. 4K is a lot, but
Yeah.
it's still
This
has issues even if it's 2K. So
this is what this shot's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be pretty dark, and she has her mask, and it starts to slide off, and then we see what her face looks like for the first time, right? And what it looks like here.
oh my god, what the hell is going on with that?
There is light from the mask. Look. There's no explanation of as far as why
That light is literally
coming from the mask.
It's literally illuminating her face.
Yeah, and then her mouth inside has a lot of light, bounce around the inside of the mouth. Like you see her teeth are glowing. See what I mean? Like why is her teeth like that? And she has a lot of light on her shoulder. And then of course, smaller things like the way the background goes out of focus.
I don't mind the background going out of focus.
Well, there's some ugly stuff. And I wonder if this is in the settings. Like there's some bad artifact lines over here. And I don't always, I don't see it like that as bad. See, this looks better. So it could be some of the settings, but.
Was this rendered with the high quality settings?
Yeah, sometimes the high quality setting makes it worse. So, like if you look up their documentation, they'll say, do this to improve things out of focus. And then it actually makes it worse. Like here, like that dark line. I'm bothered by these. I don't think that looks as pretty as like just letting the background be a little bit softer back here. But anyway, that's probably pretty small in comparison to what's happening here. Okay. And I think like part of this problem is I just don't understand the logic behind it. Like what is that's causing that? So a lot of times the solutions feel like really ridiculous, and then somehow it gets fixed. What I mean by ridiculous is like it feels like if you do a headstand and then you spin around in a circle and then you do jumping jacks and then you hit render, it's going to work. So, and then I don't know, that's weird. So usually when something like this happens, my go-to would be restart, try re-rendering it. How often that actually fixes that is not very often. Sometimes that will do it. You could restart your computer. Sometimes that will fix it. Other times, another solution I will do is just render at 2K. So I had some sequences where I had stripes, like literal stripes coming down across the whole screen. And that was because it was 4K. So if I render at 2K, it works. So a lot of our shots are 4K. And then sometimes our shots are just 2K. And for whatever reason, 4K causes all these issues. So my next step would be to try to render this at 2K. And then maybe that will solve the solution. If that doesn't fix it, what I will do is end up breaking out the maps. So right now, if I show you my content, these are all the sequences right here. right? I have 18 of them. And they're all sharing this one map right here. And, you know, I just don't think it can do it. I just don't think it can share one map. Because sometimes when it shares one map, it just has problems. And the only way to fix it is to grab shots that look similar, right? So I have a couple of shots that have this glowing mass problem, this one here, and then this one here. What I'll do is I'll just place them into a new map. I'll duplicate the map, relink everything, and do whatever I need to do.
You say relink it because when you duplicate a map, sometimes some of the objects inside of the sequencer turn red, and that just means you have to.
Not sometimes, 100%.
Yeah, you have to right-click on them and assign actor, and then relink it.
Yeah,
to stuff that's already in your.
So the sequences are
your map.
All my objects or whatever is in here, right? Will be linked in here, and then some of these would just turn red. All the ones that are not spawnable, so they'll just break and they'll just not be a part of it. And then I'll have to relink it. What I'll do is right-click, assign actor, and then reattach it to that map.
Yeah, you just put the first few letters of the name, and then you just select it. It's easy, but it's a pain in the butt.
But I just don't like. You can't use the same map for multiple shots. That's the hard rule that I've learned. For whatever reason, it just won't work. So sometimes just by separating it and simplifying my sequence, like if I have my sequences and I'm having too many objects in here, it's just going to break. Something's going to break. I don't really know why. Again, the solution is just really odd and strange. So the first thing I'll do is just render this out 2K, and it might work. There were some other sequences where it was very strange. If I render it at 2K, it looked correct. And then I'll start rendering it at 2K, and then I'll kill the render, I'll cancel it, and then I'll render at 4K, and then it'll come out correct at 4K. So if I started rendering at 4K, it will be wrong. If I do it 2K first and then I do 4K, it will work. That's not a very logical solution to any of that. So that's why I feel like it's doing handstands and jumping up and down and stuff, and then it will actually do something. So let's take a look at some of the other shots. This one here feels like there's some problems I'm having. It starts out with a lot of blur. It looks correct, but there's this frame here. I don't know if that's actually supposed to do that. Miguel?
I think that's when the vine snaps.
But is it like that in the edit?
Let me take a look. It might be.
Miguel works on his own machine, and then he will, pass out. He'll migrate out the sequences, and then I'll bring them in. Sometimes the camera breaks. Actually, no, like 50%. 50%. Once I migrate it in, there's something changed about the camera. So when I render it, it will just obviously look different. Sometimes the focal length is not the same. I'll have Miguel come over and do the readjustment. Sometimes what will happen is the camera's meant to, like, say, for example, camera's meant to go from here to here.
I can see you. Hold on.
Oh, that's right. It's supposed to just move in a linear path, like from here to here. And then on this way, it will just jerk. It'll come back.
What it'll do is it'll just do an entire 360 in the opposite direction and then end up where it should.
But then it worked on his machine, and then it doesn't work on mine. Once it's migrated over, something broke.
Well, usually what I do when it does that is if I select all the keys for the camera, I right click on it and I go to filter, and I select Euler filter, it'll fix that.
Yeah, it'll fix it.
That's usually, I usually get that if I'm doing like a big rotation. And if I put like one key in the beginning and one key at the end, it'll almost think, oh, the easiest way to get from point A to point B is to go the opposite direction of what you're expecting it to go. So you're expecting it to go from here to here. It'll actually go from here and then go this way around and then back to here. And you're like, wait a minute, no, I wanted it from here and then do this. But it'll do the total opposite really quickly.
So the camera is just whatever it is. I don't think it looks good because look at that motion blur. It's ugly. Maybe it's not in the edit.
I'm looking at the edit right now.
I mean, you could share your screen too if you want.
Yeah, I will.
I've never had successfully set up a render, like say 10 shots, and have them all work. They always will break. That's just what happens. Something will go wrong. So I'll usually try it like this, and then what I'll do is I'll just keep re-rendering that one shot over and over, separate it into its own map just to get it to look correct, right? And then once I feel like once it's rendered, you know, sometimes Miguel will be like, you know, wouldn't it be cool if we add this? And I'm like, no, I don't want to because it took me so long just to get that render to work correctly that one time. Again, I'm not supposed to have light coming out in here.
So again, look, there is some crazy stuff going on.
Share your screen.
So this is all unfinished shots here. You can see, okay, we have this. This is with the low quality motion blur. So you can see she falls here. That looks fine. Right there, it gets crazy.
Yeah, but your motion blur doesn't look as bad as mine.
But look at that. I mean, what the hell is that?
I just think we should just fix that. I think it's really ugly. So Miguel uses low quality settings for the motion blur. And then I use what's supposed to be high quality settings. And most of the time it actually looks better, but sometimes I don't think it does.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, it does look better, but yeah.
Yeah. So we have to go in and do these tweaks.
What it does is it reveals issues when you do it at higher quality.
Yeah.
Sometimes by rendering it at a lower quality, it hides problems that are still there, but they just don't. They're not so obvious.
Yeah, I hate this frame I have on my machine. Hold on. How do I? Okay, so let me bring it back here. Let me show some other shots. Some of them are just mistakes on my end. This one here also needs to be fixed. Most of them need to be fixed. So she's falling down, and then I'm using like Niagara effects to get some dirt. And once you have like motion blur come in, it just feels different. Like they feel like hard streaks of black rain, and they're really not supposed to feel like that. So that is just, I just have to go in and redial it. It's because there's motion blur now. So when I look at it in real time, let's load up that shot. It just seems okay. I think it's okay. Let's load this up. Let's give it a second. It feels like it's okay, and then once we actually render it with motion blur, then you see different types of problems coming up. Those things are not, they don't give me headaches because that makes sense to me. Like it's very logical why that didn't work out, right? It's the other stuff that, so you can see here I have some dirt falling sometimes. And then, you know, I'm not playing it yet, but yeah, see, it doesn't feel like that so bad. If I just keep it here, sometimes the dirt's supposed to fall and they're more broken up, so they feel more like dirt. But once we have motion blur on it, it just feels like some weird black rain. And that's just making it look more like streaks. Let's see some other shots. This one turned out fine.
Can you make that full screen? So we're only using this part of the shot, right?
There is some dirt kind of coming in on the camera. I don't know how you feel, how that looks. So that part's done. It basically, the shot starts from here when her face is dead here. But the shot actually starts around here. And then there's kind of like some foggy dirt coming in and out. Does that look weird?
That looks good.
So I think this one actually worked out.
Hello from the Ukraine. Hope
Okay.
you guys are doing all right over there.
Yes, hello. This one here, I think, seemed to work. I don't know. What do you think? Is the dirt too strong?
No, it looks good.
I don't think it even lands, though, in your edit. Like you cut out before, right?
The shot is super quick.
Yeah, like the shot looks like it starts from here. And then she doesn't ever land. So it probably goes to here. But I don't know if that, if we're looking at the shot starting from here, does that dirt
even read?
Yeah, does that even read like dirt?
It'll read. It'll read like there's chaos happening.
Sometimes I don't know. I just have to give it to Miguel. This shot here, start from here, really starts at, we just pick up the end. I think this one came out okay. So probably the shot here, even though I'm rendering it longer, we're probably just getting this, this impact. Her color looked really weird here. They look really pale. She's like the colors are strange. I don't know. I have to figure that out too. She kind of turned gray. Okay, so that one's not okay either. But the effects seem okay. I don't know what you think.
It looks good. It's kind of hard to tell. It is very pixelated as I see it.
Right, when you watch it through the stream.
Yeah.
This one, okay, I already played that one. This one, like the simplest one shot, it's totally fine. Probably just goes from here to here. So we're good. That one I don't have to worry about. These ones seem to work out. We just pick up some of the early stuff from here. We don't see the full drop. So it probably, so that's one of the few ones that worked.
You got the little particles in there.
Yeah, so I have dust particles, but we don't actually, we're probably not going to see the dirt because the dirt doesn't seem to start. And that's the other thing sometimes, just.
There's no way to offset that Niagara stuff so that they both fall at the same time?
I mean, I have to open it up and try to figure that out.
Or like giving it like buffer frames?
It does have a warm up. It's just the way it's set is not to constantly fall.
Yeah.
But I can just probably duplicate the Niagara effects and then adjust the timing on it. On that particular one, it's going to let it fall more consistently.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'll do. This shot worked out all right.
I really like the tears on her face now. That's sad.
Yeah. That one worked out okay. And I'll go in and break up some of the lighting here. This one worked out.
That's a great shot. Poor little thing.
Yeah, so that's like Alice's hands right there. Maybe, I don't know if her hands read.
No, I think you need a fog card behind there.
Yeah, I'll probably have to place, so her
the
hands are
silhouettes
not
read.
reading well. I'll have to come in and make adjustments to that. This one worked out. Basically, the Koa shots are okay.
And a lot of these, like,
We'll cut out first.
they cut out. They're like 10 frames, 20 frames. They're super short. So
Yeah,
like
so this shot probably starts from here
right there.
and stops here.
It's very
And then
much
her
like an
her
old
face
school.
goes, yeah, I'm not It's almost like cut. Someone yelled cut.
Yeah, and then her face totally breaks.
These worked out fine. Again, if you're just joining in, I'm talking about problems I have in rendering. This is a big problem.
That almost feels like it's the intense light from above hitting the mask, bouncing off, even though I know that that's not what it is, and illuminating the face.
Well, it's like the mask also has a light. Is the blood? There's a question here. Is it blood on her hands? Decals? No, that's all just textured.
If it were decals, when her hands move, they'd be stuck. Yeah, they're done in substance.
Yeah, they are baked. They're just textures. So yeah, but anyway, if you're seeing this, her face is messed up. Again,
she's textured at different states throughout the film.
Yeah. This should not. Let me pull up that sequence. What that's supposed to look like is this. So I have like a little lens flare. You know, I like what it looks like in the viewport. I do not like how it rendered out. This is the intended lighting. And then when I hit render, I got something very weird.
And it's 100% being caused by that mask.
Yeah. So again, I will need multiple maps to isolate the problem. Yeah. There's all kinds of problems, but this is very normal for me. So anyway, let's look at some of the shots that turned out fine. Let me load this one here. Well, she's not just resting because she's actually still swinging around. So if we put a decal, the decal will slide over unless you parent the decal to the animation, but that would seem really tedious. And I also noticed that whenever I use decals, sometimes they don't light the way I expect them to. They kind of break at certain angles. You know, they work as an illusion, and then if you, but I don't find them 100% dependable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know V-Ray has decals in the new version, which I want to test out.
Decals are awesome.
Yeah.
I really like them. We use them a lot, but sometimes they're not stable. I am loading another sequence just to show you guys. So just be patient. Give me a second. Okay. All right, so that loaded up. Here's my sequence, and let's look through the camera. So I kind of like how these shots turned out, right? So in the story, the mask, as you can see in the other shot, it falls off one girl and it lands on her face. Right?
Yeah, and we knew that, you know, technically speaking, if the mask were to land like that, it should just slip right off, but it was important to us.
Story-wise. And I know this world is clearly stylized, right?
Yeah.
So we can say that's, well, it is artistic choices. Let's break down some of the lighting here. So I have all my objects. All my lights are here. So you can see my lighting is super simple. I have fog, an HDRI, and a post-process. I'll turn off the post-process, right? So you can see it's more washed out. And in the post-process, what I will generally do a lot here, I don't have, well, I do have some lens flare, but I don't think it really shows up much.
Well, let me answer this question real quick. Is Quixel Mixer better when working with Unreal? We use them for different things. We really use Mixer to make floors.
Yeah, I know Quixel Mixer has a newer feature where it's for texturing.
Texturing like anything.
Yeah, texturing anything. Originally, what Quixel Mixer was meant for was mixing your materials to create new materials. That's why it was called Mixer, because you're mixing Megascan's surfaces to make something new. None of them are either really better, I would say. I just think that whatever tool works for you. I prefer Substance Painter because Substance Painter was built for texturing, and I think it has better tools for texturing.
A Quixel mixer was built for
mixing materials.
mixing
Yeah.
mega scan stuff.
And I find Substance Painter is more powerful. I find Quixel Mixer really hard on your GPU, and it's much slower than Substance Painter. Substance Painter also supports multiple UDIMs, and I'm not sure if Quixel Mixer does that. So these characters here are not one UDIM. They take up multiple tiles. So a UDIM, if you don't know what I'm saying, is just basically one tile, right, in your UV space, and this one has 4, and it can support that. So I like Substance Painter better as a tool, but as a final result, I think that if you get it to look good in either software, they will both look fine in Unreal. There is no one-to-one match on anything though. Everything looks slightly different no matter which software you're using, just because Quixel Mixer is not Unreal and Substance Painter is not Unreal. But that's a good question, I think. Okay, let me come back here. What was I talking about? The post-process. Okay, so in my post-process, what I have going on is under color grading. I usually will adjust my saturation, right? Saturation is a big thing that we're doing because all our colors are really poppy. I have a slight increase in contrast, 1.1. I have my gamma, and then I have my gain. What am I doing in my gain? My gain, it says 1.13. It's really bumping up the blue channel to make it feel a little bit more blue. So my red and green are just at 1, and my blue is 1.13. So I have a slight increase in blue color. And then here, what I also tend to do, and I didn't do in here, is I usually use exposure. In this case, I didn't. So my post-process before and after are not too dramatic. The one thing I am doing a lot in this sequence is I have a bloom, right? So I like having the bloom because I feel like it makes everything a little bit softer. This pays off more in some of the other shots when Ala is falling down and we see some of the sky. This one here is just more subtle. I do find the bloom is tied in with the lens flare, right? So having those two on, the bloom and the lens flare, they kind of they're linked, in some way. So
Someone is asking you a question.
Are you rendering more saturated on purpose so you can desaturate it? No, not at all. I am rendering for final. That you should show some of the images that you posted. Do you want to show that?
Oh, I gotta dig them up.
Okay, so you can go ahead dig it up. The look of it's not for desaturating. The look of our stuff is extremely saturated. So this is actually not that punchy in terms of color in the sequence. The predominant colors are really just red. If you take a look here, you can see, these are my little icons. So you get an idea of the color palette. So this is actually less colorful than some of the other stuff. If I show you here under this sequence, here, you can tell how colorful it is. I do look at this a lot when I'm working. I take screenshots. To take a screenshot of your sequence, you just have to load it up and you have to hit the save button here and it will capture that screenshot of whatever you have in your viewport. If you just press save from here, it will save everything, but it actually won't take the screenshot. You have to hit the save button in the sequencer and you will actually get a screenshot on here. It took a while to figure that out, but you can see from this, our palette is super colorful and that just has to do with the final look.
Found it.
Found it. Just wait for Miguel to share. So these are some images, some stills from our film. And you can see they're really colorful. Color is intense. Most of our stuff is, you know, more desaturated generally when we work. But I think that, you know, since this is stylized and not real, it's an opportunity to really push the color, right? Like try to take advantage of it. Like I don't think we would ever push color on something like this if it was live action, because it might look really weird. Okay, so let me go through and continue this. So this is my post process.
Wait, I'm still showing the image.
Oh, you're still showing? I like that one.
I love this one.
I don't like most of my stuff. You know, I'm kind of like the artist that hates their own work. So if I actually like how something turns out, that's good.
All right, take it.
Okay, let me pull. You did it for me. Okay, so that's without my post process. To me, this looks much more rich. This is the fog. And the HDRI is actually not doing a lot because we're actually inside some kind of tunnel. So let me show you the layout. Right. So this is what my map looks like. I have just these cubes blocking. And then I have a lot of megascan rocks here, just kind of bashed together. And all these kind of weird red stains are all decals. So I can turn them on and off. Okay. So it's pretty simple. And again, HDRI is not doing a lot because we're inside this dark tunnel. Okay, so my main light is, in this case, this light. These are also.
I really like that. Turn that light off. Like obviously you can't have that, but I really like that one eye peeking through like that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool artistically. It makes no sense. Generally, my main light is actually main 2. You can see that's not part of sequence. So I have like these thunderbolt signs. So these are the lights, number of lights I'm using just for this sequence. And you can see that they're in my sequencer here. My main 2 is not spawnable. I have my visibility off. So I've set up the map with just one light only. And then I come in and I add multiple lights. So let's just break down all this stuff. Okay, so this is really dark. Now you can still see that the eye is glowing, right? If I select her, what that is it's just some weird art direction. It's basically this highlight right here. The reason why I have it in there is I feel like, okay, if I was working in a regular VFX pipeline, it's really important to me that the eye constantly has some kind of highlight.
Give it life.
Like this, because it makes the eyes feel alive, right? Like
which makes no sense whatsoever that life means reflecting a light source.
But you see it in movies.
No, of course.
Yeah. So like if this was shot live action, the DP cinematographer would go out of the way to make sure that the eyes feel wet and alive. It's never accidental that you feel like the eyes are awake, right? And then
what I'm saying is it's just silly. Like it makes no sense that what makes it look alive is reflecting a light source on a wet object. Like whether you're dead or not, as long as there's moisture on the eyes.
Yeah, but I think that we've just been trained that way.
Yeah.
So we've been trained in live action movies, and that is something that is fabricated by the cinematographer to make sure that the eyes feel alive. You see this in animated movies, so it's in every single film language that you need the highlight to feel alive. And in a VFX pipeline, what I would generally do is have a light, and then that light will only hit the eye and will be light linked to only hit the eye, and it won't affect anything else in the scene. Light linking is not like really a thing in here, right? You can't really light link in.
Well, you can. You could do the.
Nah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work as well, but it is a thing.
Well, it's supposed to work, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, but it is there.
it is there, but
Yeah.
I have not gotten it to work properly
Yeah.
the way I wanted to. So my workaround was I painted these maps in Substance Painter, right? And they're painted like really scratchy because that's the style. You can see that it's very rough intentionally. And then that keeps my eye awake. Then I have a parameter on here that can control the intensity. So all my eyes are constantly like that. Now, if I come in here, let's look at some of the lighting. So I have a main light here, right? And all these other ones are just to help fill it in. Number 4 is probably just a backup light I didn't want to delete. And then here I have lights kind of filling in the shadow because I don't really see the eye, right? It just looks like it's glowing. So this one here is filling in some of the body. And this is filling in that mask. And some other lights in the background here, just lifting it and pulling it out. Here, again, it is a little hard to see the hand shape. I'll probably come in and try to make some adjustments. Like, it's a little bit tricky because her body and her hands are really close to each other. I don't know. I'll just probably discuss this with Miguel. But basically, all my shadows have lights. And these are just spotlights, right? That are blue. And they're very low intensity. And they have soft shadows. So my source radius is increased. And then sometimes I bring the specular down. So it's very contrived. But I think it works.
Turn the lights on and off. Let's see them.
So no lights. Oops, main 2 turned on. And so did number 4. Again, those are my lights. That's my main light. It's just fake. You see, that's a shadow light. Not funny. But it works. Basically, in this short, none of our shadows are never lit. We light all our shadows. And you can see it here.
Meaning like you fill it in.
Yeah. They have
some kind of light.
Always some kind of light. Let's see.
Yeah, I really like that eye light.
Here, same thing, right? It feels very hacky to me. This is my sequencer. My main light is turned off. These 3 lights are my spawnable lights. So these are my funny eye highlights, right? Here's my main light. The shadow is being casted here by the actual
body.
The actual body.
You can see the hair and the head.
Yeah, let me break out of here. I also have the sphere here. What this sphere is doing is blocking light. It's really weird when you look at this. You see how messed up this looks once I'm out of the shot. But if I hide the sphere here.
Our rig has a butt problem.
Yeah, our rig is like super broken. Let me just come in here. So the sphere is just hiding the hand light because sometimes you can see here when the light is hitting her hand, it got really wet. So that's just blocking that out.
And that's just you putting like a sphere?
Yeah, it's literally a sphere. It's casting the shadow.
Yeah, we have spheres or cubes like all over the scene, like behind the camera.
Yeah, the spheres kind of gives me, I used to use a sphere, cube, but I would get like kind of like sharp shapes. And then the sphere gives me, because it's round, just something softer. And then here, this is light filling in my shadow. And then I have to fill in the mouth. But when you see it all, you know, it just feels like the shadow is fine.
It looks like some kind of bounce light coming in from the side, but it's completely contrived.
Yeah, it's super contrived. And the other thing that I have going on with the eyes is they're not, one is actually darker and one is actually lighter than the other. So I have obviously 2 eyes, right? One eye is actually much more dull. You can see the brightness is 0.55. that is this eye right here. So sometimes the white of my eyes, you see that by default, that's really bright, and that's kind of freaky. That doesn't look good for it to be so intense. So the whites can be too high. Now for this one here, I actually don't want it to be darker. So if I had it set to the same value as the other light, I don't really see the eye, right? So I've actually brought up the brightness here and this eye. Let's turn it off. So let's see the eyes at 0 here.
That's creepy as hell.
Yeah. I just feel like, at this value, you barely see the eye. And we really want the eyes to be super visible. So literally one eye is brighter than the other eye. So they're just hacky little tricks. And I'm not used to working this way. When, generally I work in VFX pipeline. I don't use that many tricks like this. This is fun though for me though. It took me a moment to get used to. Let's load up this shot here.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like the big difference between lighting in Unreal or V-Ray is that in V-Ray, a lot of that stuff you would have gotten for free.
Yeah. So
whereas, so you don't, since you get it for free, you don't even appreciate that it's there because it's just the way it should be. But then when you start doing this stuff in Unreal and you don't get that, you're just like, why does this not look good? Why does it look crappy? You kind of have to know what's missing and then manually add it and cheat it. And I think that's what makes lighting in Unreal a little bit harder, is it's more like painting because you have to know what brush strokes to lay down.
I think you can get Unreal to look as good as anything.
Yes.
I think the materials are not quite as good yet, but you can really get stuff to look, photoreal. You just have to know how to do it, and you're not going to get it for free. Whereas, like if you use something like V-Ray, Arnold, or Redshift, you're getting a lot of stuff for free.
But I think my point is when you say you have to know how to do it, it's not like a button press.
No, it's like being a painter.
It's being a painter. You have to know, oh, this is missing a bounce light here that I would have gotten for free in the real world or V-Ray, and you have to go.
V-Ray is PBR. It has PBR support. Physically based, was it PBR? Physically based rendering. Yeah. It's always been physically based. It's totally fine. It's super accurate. And that's one of the things that makes it really, really slow. But anyway, if we come in here, let's check out some of the lighting. Let's break this down. This is what it looks like without my post-process. So in my post-process here, I'm using Bloom. How about, there's a question here. How about using Path Tracer even for for example, more realistic light?
That's it. Yeah.
When
you want to answer that one?
Well, you can answer it.
No, you answer it.
Well, when we started, Path Tracer was like really new, so it wasn't something that was incorporated to our workflow. We are not using the latest version, and that's just something more released recently, so we're not versioning up. The reason why we're not versioning up is when you version up, things will break. And we experienced that a lot in this process. So we started off with early access, and then as we started upgrading, all our lighting in our scenes were broken, and we would have to relight everything.
Honestly, I don't like the way Marmoset looks at all. Someone is saying that we should look dev it in Marmoset before bringing it into Unreal. I don't like. I've yet to see anything in Marmoset that I really think, wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah. Plus, I just feel like that's introducing something else. Like I'd rather just work in Substance, bring it directly into Unreal, and then it looks exactly the way it should look. It just seems like an extra step. Yeah. I think Marmoset could be really cool. I've seen really awesome results, but it's just not really necessary for us. Like I just want to get it to work directly in here. So our pipelines just go from Substance right into Unreal, and that's it.
The other thing, Path Tracer wise, is so there is Path Tracer in this version that we have, Sergi, but it doesn't support fog. So when we turn it on, all our fog doesn't work. That's one of the things that was added in the newer version. And as you could see, like atmosphere is a huge component in our thing. So yeah, we just can't use it on this version. And the last time we did update Unreal, we probably lost like 2 weeks of work trying to fix all the lights that broke. So we're just afraid.
Yeah. So we're afraid of dealing with broken stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of normal for companies in general. Like when I've worked, you know, you don't always use the latest thing because that's there's always an unknown variable there. So, okay, let's break down some of this lighting here. So this is what it looks like without it. And what I'm doing a lot in here is I am bringing up the bloom. So I think, you know, you expect the sky to have some kind of glow, right? So that gives me this kind of glow. And then, you know, I do have some lens flare. Now the lens flare is going in and out, and I kind of like that effect, even though that didn't render out at all. And the reason why we see it coming in is one, the camera is rotating, and two, I have all these particles falling, and depending on that, it's blocking some of the light. But I like how dynamic that feels. Okay. I have my HDRI. Let's turn this off here, which is not doing that much because I'm inside a tunnel. And then I have my fog, you know, which is giving me the atmosphere of the fog. Let's turn this back on here. And then as far as my lighting, I have my default main light that's coming from above. Let's come out of the scene. Right, so that's my light source. I'm not using a directional light. And then what I also have going on here are two spotlights, or a couple of spotlights here. Let's turn them off. So these lights here are filling her in. So she's actually just pitch black. Right, so I have one light hitting this side, just so it's not completely black. And then I have a rim kind of cheating it, and you can see it's picking up some stuff on the arm. So I feel it's pretty simple. These are my particles. I did not make these. Right, so I can turn them off. You can see it's more bright. I'll probably end up having to readjust this stuff. I have a fog here just to pull her silhouette out.
That's just a fog card, right?
No, I'm probably going to replace it with a card. It's actually a Niagara thing. But
it is?
Yeah, I think maybe I have too many things and it might be causing me problems. I have this dirt coming down here. I just bought these from the marketplace. And
that was like the best $40 we ever spent.
Yes, I just go in, I just adjust them.
Yeah.
And then I have some lighter ones. So I have some dark ones and then some lighter ones just to give it some breakup. Okay. I don't know if there's any questions about any of this stuff. Let's load up some other stuff. These are also really similar here. Right. I'm using the bloom quite a bit. It also makes it feel softer. Then I have these spotlights here. And my main light back here. That's coming from above, giving me this rim. And these are filling it in, so she's not completely dark. And it's taking multiple lights. The reason why it takes multiple lights is because they're kind of close together, right? And one light is just not going to do it. So I have one angled here to hit her face. And I have another one to kind of hit the other side. And this one here hits her body. And you can see they're positioned like kind of like in a triangle just to kind of get around and make it, you know, feel more filled in. And the goal is not to make it feel like there's a light hitting it, right? But just giving it enough to lift it up. Anyway, do you want to show some stuff?
No. Well, but I have the new animation for the I'm sorry shot. I could give it to you now if you want to bring it into the sequence. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Tran?
No questions?
No
Are you trying to
questions.
load up some shot? I don't see any questions. I'm just scanning the chat right now. That's why I'm going quiet.
Let's do this. No, not. I mean, the only stuff I have to show is the stuff I've been working on, which is just sound stuff. I don't know how interesting that is.
Well, I can show other things I have left to do.
Yeah. I think the stuff you're showing is really cool.
Give me 1 second. I am just loading more sequences. It just takes a moment.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions for Tran or I, let us know.
Give it a second. There's a question here. Is this for a studio or is it just personal work?
This personal work.
Yeah. So we are, the primary team is just Miguel and I. We have some amazing artists helping us out, doing certain tasks, right? Like we brought in probably our biggest team or has been probably some additional animation because this is animated. But it's a pretty small crew.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, finally it loaded. Okay, so shots I have left to do. Sorry, let me just pop this here. Are some of these shots?
Small animals.
They're just falling on top of each other.
Hold on, someone is asking a question. Do small animals or insects not exist in this world, or will that take away from the story? No, that takes away from the. We don't have any time to do that.
Yeah, we're just two people, and this short is like 10 minutes, with a lot of shots. We actually haven't gone through how many shots there are. But anyway, these are the shots I have left to do in this, but I'm not really done. The look of the things I feel look the way I want it to look, but they are not rendering correctly. The funny thing is, here's the question. We did talk about
I already answered that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We did actually talk about like it would be cool if you had some shots of her POV and you could actually see like some insects or things crawling around. We talked about that in the beginning. That would be nice, but we're just two people, and we don't have the time or resources, so everything is just as minimal as it could be. Let me show some additional shots.
Do you think small studios will move to Unreal eventually? I think there's always going to be two sides, one that will be Unreal and one that will not be Unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think some things are going to be hard to do. Like, if you watch like Avengers Endgame, and then you had that whole sequence where all these people were fighting all these superheroes, and there was like crazy effects and this massive crowd. I just don't even see how that is done like that in Unreal. But I think if you're just doing something smaller, it's possible. Like if you watch Love, Death, Robots, there's that one episode, the Cthulhu one. Apparently, that was all done in Unreal, and I couldn't even tell. It looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And that was done by what, Sony?
That was Sony.
Yeah, so Sony is doing some Unreal stuff.
They've been doing Unreal stuff. They've been trying to push that, so they're doing great.
Yeah. I have another shot here. Again, if I just break this down, simple lighting, just to fill in the face. It's like the first time you're really supposed to see her face here.
Yeah, I like when you break down the different lights. So this one just has 2 lights.
Yeah, there's just 2 lights.
Go through them.
Just one here and one here. And they're just hitting different sides. So if I go here, fill that one in.
That looks great too.
And fill this one in here.
I wonder if there's a script out there where you could render this kind of like light selects inside of in V-Ray, where you could just have it render every single light as a separate pass, and then try to comp it in Nuke. I know that it'd be impossible with effects, like with Niagara stuff, because every pass would be different. But if there wasn't effects, it could work.
Yeah.
That's what's tough about the Niagara thing. Like, so you render it one more time. Every single time you render it, those rocks will be different.
Okay, so one more shot. Let me show here as she's coming down. Let's break down the lighting here. So my post-process. See, the post-process makes a huge difference. On this shot, I probably cranked up the vignette more. So if I come over here, I do that a lot with some tight shots, right? So it makes the sides dark. It kind of keeps your eye focused in the center, right? And everything is kind of falling off to the side. And then I have 2 lights here. Let's go to my outliner. So this is what it looks like. I have a light back here that's just picking up some background. Primary light is here. And then what I also have going on here is I actually put her body up here just to cast a shadow. So I've moved her around a little bit.
We have a question. Are you guys using Unreal's default render? We literally just talked about that. We're using the default render, and because the version of Unreal that we're using doesn't support fog, so we can't use Path Tracer for that.
Yeah, Path Tracer is much newer, right?
Yeah.
It's only very recently.
They just added it in, I think, the last update.
Yeah, so Path Tracer is in here, but it didn't work with fog. So when you would like hit Path Tracer, there was no fog.
Yeah, it looked really ugly.
And it looked very weird. So that is super new. And we're not upgrading until
Project is done.
Until the project is done. And the next project will do that.
Are you guys using Unreal's? Okay, so, and what is better for use direct?
We haven't used Vulkan. We're just using DirectX 12.
What is Vulkan? Is that newer?
I don't know. We haven't used that. We've had DirectX 11, which is now you can't use that in here. And we are just using DirectX 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what, pretty much what I have in terms of lighting. It's all pretty simple, which baffles me when it's breaking. I will probably spend a couple days just figuring out what's wrong with my shots. And, the solutions don't make any sense. I would just probably keep re-rendering it until it turns out right.
Yeah. All right. So let's hide this. So I'm just going to go in here, and so I'm in Premiere, and one of the things I've been doing is I have to send this off to animation, to sound in the next few days. So what I've been doing is organizing everything to send to the sound mixer. So what I'm doing is just going in, because when I'm working on this stuff initially, I try to be as loose as possible. And loose sometimes it is kind of sloppy when you're just throwing sounds in there. You're just trying to see if things work, and you're not being very organized, or at least I'm not organized at all when I'm just trying to conceptualize something. It's like a sketch in a way. The problem is, once you have to send this off to the next guy, they do want to see this stuff a little bit more polished. Let me see what's going on here. So let me just render this out real quick. So what I have to do is, you can see it says A1, A2, A3, A4. So I try to do A1, 2, and 3. A1 being like my main actress, A2 being secondary actress, the sister, and A3 would be tertiary actors. So either in this scene, it would either be the father or the crowd, and then move down to PFX, which is like just like practical sound effects. And then I have stuff that's making sounds that could be considered musical. The sound of the actual music goes under that, and then like the atmospheric, so wind, burning fires, birds chirping, all that stuff would go on the layer below that. So let's just wait for this thing to finish rendering, and we're just gonna go through this scene because I'm actually not done with this one. So we're just gonna go in and see where we could add certain footsteps, where we could add some background sounds, some chanting sounds, some crowd sounds, and just improve it a little bit. Let's give it a second. I'm going to hide the subtitles for now. The subtitle layer in Premiere is super buggy. So we have issues with that all the freaking time. So just rendering this out. And then we'll just go in and start isolating sounds. So there's certain sounds that I know I'm going to need. So I'm going to just start finding them. So I'll just go to motion array, which is where we're usually finding this stuff. And let's do wood footsteps. I know we need some wood footsteps here. So let's just go in here. So sound effects.
Preview.
So that's pretty good. And you can see they break a lot of these down per footstep.
Preview.
So I'm just going to start downloading these guys. So I have my folder here. I have a folder here called footsteps somewhere here. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to make a folder here called wood. Most of those have been gravel, so I'll just save wood footsteps, and I'm just going to keep looking for some other sounds. So not that. Okay, so I think this will probably be fine. So let's open this up and let's start populating the scene with the sound effects. So let me just unzip this guy. And you know what's great about some of these sites is you are downloading this stuff. You could keep it forever. You could use it on future projects. You could start building up your sound library. Which you can see here, if you go into my sound library, there's just a ton of different stuff. So stingers are sounds like this. Let me just play it real quick. Right, so that's like you see the corpse behind you or something, right? You have different horns. So the war horn is one that we used quite a bit. Right, so these are just amazing. You could use this for years. It's really well recorded. Doors. This is just like film projectors, which we actually used this in the beginning. Okay, so just fantastic. Newsreels. I haven't unzipped this one, so let's unzip it. Vinyl cracking. So all kinds of really kick-ass sounds. So yeah, just starting to build this up, and let's see how our render is doing here. It's almost done. And then we'll just go in and start filling this in. Let's just start right now. Okay, so let's play this and see. So you can see there, we could start putting in our footsteps. So let's just go into our footsteps here. 1 second. That one sounds good. You can see, you can kind of feel that this one is moving faster. You can feel the person's speed there. This one here feels much slower. So this one's perfect. So let's just grab this. We'll go into our final project here. Kind of just start finding these footsteps. And all I'll do is I'll create an in point and an out point on these, and then just drag the audio in here. So you could see that I'm color coding a lot of this stuff. So all the red is dialogue. I haven't color coded these in the bottom, but like background sound effects, if I just click on this, see that this is like fire. So this stuff I'm making blue. So let's just come over here to label, and this will help you just organize things a little bit better. So you could just like look at it and be like, okay, this is that, this color is this. So let's go into our footsteps here. Let's pull this down so you can see the actual step by looking at the waveform. So I don't need this right here. And then I'm just going to look at the footage. And right there, seems like it lands. Now, you might not even notice this because of the, you know, the really strong drums. So what I'll probably do is find the music. And I'm just going to mute it. So just press M. Right, and just focus on the sound effects. I don't care if it overpowers it. I'd rather it be there and you don't hear it than it feel like there's something missing. So let's see. So it looks like it needs to be forward a little bit. Let's bring this up a tiny bit. So you see this horizontal bar is our volume. Okay, cool. So let's just go back over here. We'll select another footstep. And at a certain point, we could start reusing them. So let's just come over here, in point, out point. Drag this guy in here. And since it's a pretty slow walk, you probably could just stick this on one single layer. But usually if it's a fast walk, they're going to overlap a little bit. So you would need to fill up 2 different layers. Let's see how that does. I'm going to find the guy talking right there, and let's just mute him for now. So you can see that other step does not line up. So, boom. There. Let's put this one over here. I still feel like it's moving too fast, so I'll actually go into the speed and duration and set this to like 70%. See, that kind of feels better. That's changing the pitch, of course, which is fine with me. So let's go to speed duration. So give it a deeper sound. Black. Right there is where this should land. And I'll probably just come over here, select this guy here, do another in point, out point, drag just the sound, bring that up, speed duration. Let's slow this down even more. So this is out of frame, but just to connect the next footstep that she was about to do. So let's just put it right there. Okay, so let's hear that. I think this sounds better when it's even slower. So let's go to our speed and duration, slow this guy down to 60. Even slower, speed duration 50. Down the volume. Shift this over. Let's bring this guy over here. All right, cool. So that's that. So now these guys here, we have a couple of little chantings here. So, all right, so let's get some nice sounds in there. So I'm gonna go to my Windows media browser. So I have this in my other window, and what I'll do here is I'll just go into my audio folder, voiceover, crowd, and I'm just gonna listen to some of these.
Nina nguvu.
So I'm not crazy about this performance here at all, but it might work if I grab it.
Nina nguvu.
It's just gonna be like very subtle. Let's just grab that. Hold that in here. So I'll just go to my essential sounds, dialogue. Let's put make distant. I'll put background voice, so it's getting kind of lost in there. Let's under warm voice, let's make it outside the club, whatever the hell that does.
Nina nguvu.
Bring this down. Let's slow this down. Let's go to like 70%. Bring down the volume. It's too slow. It sounds like he's reading the lines, so I'm not. Speed duration. Let's go. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Let's get rid of that. It doesn't work. So let's see what else we could do. Let's do some wood cracking here. So let's do find some sounds for that. Let's do wood floor. I'm just back in motion array and I'm just looking for some more sounds. So like creaking wood floors is what I want.
preview, preview, preview,
So I like this one. So let's grab that.
preview, preview,
Let me save you guys from that. So let me just start downloading this. So let's go to our audio. Temp sounds. Save that in there. You know, this stuff is much more audio based than Unreal. I get that, but this just is where we're at with the project at the moment. Okay, so I'm gonna move this to another layer since I wanted to overlap the footsteps that are there. So let's just take a listen. Bring that down. So I'm gonna slow that down. I just like how some of these sounds feel when they're a little bit slower. It drops the pitch a bit.
I think it breaks up the stuff though. Like the whole point of showing our process is like everything that we're doing.
Showing all of it.
Yeah. That's from sound, that's from modeling things up to this point.
That's not it. Right, so let's bring that in there. Let's just select another section. So mark the in point, mark the out point. Basically meaning don't use this part, don't use that part, and just drag the sound. Let's bring it in there. Speed, duration, set it to like 70. Just offset it a slight bit. So I'm assuming she's still walking here. That's why the camera is moving in this direction. So let's just put some of her footsteps in there as well. So I just copy this previous one and kind of match the space somewhat here. Let's just see. Let's copy this guy over here. And I just go to speed and duration, and I'll just slow down that footstep so it sounds, the pitch is different, so it'll sound like a different footstep. Slow down that creak. Let's hear that. Okay, so that's good. Now let's just lower those creak sounds. So we'll just come over here. So this will all be mixed by our mixer, Ben, but I just want to get the sounds in place. Let's get one other creaking sound in there. Speed duration, 50%. We'll bring this down even more. Let's bring this down even more. As you can see, we have some of the chanting sounds here. So that's good. Let's hear it all together. So we have our walk here. So let's get these footsteps in place. So let's just use another footstep here. So we'll mark our in point and out point. Speed duration. 50% is good. Let me have this open just in case anybody asks any questions.
I think I know what's wrong with the renders.
What is it?
It's all the Niagara stuff.
Is it?
Yeah. When I turn it off, I've been quiet because I've been trying to figure this out. When I turn them all off, the light leaking from the mask.
Fixes it?
Yeah, it's just too much. It doesn't make any sense though, because it's not like that stuff is touching the face.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look. You guys can hear the sound fine, right? Yes.
Well, I can hear it.
Okay, if you can hear it, you could hear like the cracks and everything.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hear the cracks and everything.
Okay, so there's our other footstep right there. Right in there. So this is much further away.
Thanks for the confirmation.
So you can see that doesn't line up.
That stuff seems fun. I mean, I don't think I would ever do sound mix, but like, I don't know, it breaks up the work.
That's why I like it.
Yeah.
So let's shift this. Over here. So I'll just slow this down again. When I slow this down, it just gives it a deeper sound as it changes the pitch. Again, she's much further away, so you probably wouldn't hear a footstep at that point. But I'll place it there and let the mixer eventually set it to whatever he wants. See, that helps.
Sorry, Ricardo. That area looks delish.
So right there, we have another footstep. So let's put that in there. Change the speed. Change our pitch. Bring down the volume. All right, so let's hear it with the guy.
Na wale tu wanaokaa wana thamani ndio watakaovaa barakoa.
Let's get some of the wood creaks in here. So I'll just use one of the earlier ones in this section here. So let's put that in there. Speed duration. Let's slow this down drastically so it'll be a creak.
Barakoa.
See, it just gives it a nice sound. Let's put that in there. Let's change the speed on that guy. Go set that to like 50. Then we have a third footstep. Let's see. So let's put another footstep off camera. We'll put it right there. Slow it down. So that's 50%. Let's set it to like 40%. There is a breaking point with some of these things. Pretty clean sound comes through those masks. Well, that would be fixed in the mix. They would give it they would muffle it a little bit. But you know, this is an animated thing. We could cheat those things a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. Miguel working his magic like it's nothing. I don't think I could do sound mix at all.
Let's grab this sound. Let's go to dialogue, and let's do make distant, and let's do locked in the trunk. So that might muffle the voices a little bit. Okay, and loudness. We'll just come in here and bring down the volume a little bit.
Here's a good question. Did we use a mood board before starting this project? No.
No. We were terrified with this project because the aesthetic is an aesthetic that neither one of us is really. First of all, there's not a lot of reference, right? Like in terms of like fantasy African aesthetic. Like what is there? Black Panther. There's not a ton of like fantasy African aesthetic. So there's not a lot to go with, and we were afraid of that because we had nothing to. Like if you want to do a Victorian thing, you're like, okay, I have
like
30
ton of
years
movies.
of horror,
Yeah.
of Hammer horror movies, of Tim Burton, of Edward Gorey, of Addams Family and the Munster. There's so much stuff that you could pull from, but fantasy African aesthetic, there's not a lot.
Yeah. I don't think we were trying to invent something new. We just decided this is the story we wanted to tell. And then
Figure it out.
And then we're like, well, it has to look like this, right? So we figured out the characters. But I was very worried about the environments because first, this project was supposed to be 6 months. So this one's wrapping up and we're going to do another one. And we're going to really, really try to hit the mark on 6 months on the next one. But yeah, we, had planned to just use Megascan's assets because it's a speed thing, it's a time thing. So we have a lot of constraints and limitations in time and manpower and everything like that, right? This is not like a big studio production. It's mostly just Miguel and I. Yeah, I always wanted to go with more color. And if you look at some of our earlier stuff, we had color in there, but the color was really like pastel. And Miguel hated it, rightfully so, because it looked very pastel. And it doesn't seem right. I feel like pastel with these type of characters is strange. So eventually we just kept changing the environment, and then we found a palette that was very vibrant and non-pastel. We talked about initially how maybe we should just go desaturated because the vibrant pastel was super ugly. But I didn't like the desaturation, so we just pushed back and forth until we both were, okay, this is it.
Michael, I don't know Kirikou and the Sorceress. I've never even heard of that.
Oh, sorry, that's his question. Yeah, I don't know what that is. We can look it up. There's another one. Fantasy African aesthetic. Just return 11 pictures search. At least something. Yeah, I guess that's cool. But it's kind of dangerous. Like if you don't have something to go off of, right? Like a lot of people, like Pixar is really dominant. I saw like a Vox video last week talking about how Spider-Man Spider-Verse really changed the look. I think literally the title of the video is like how it changed like the Pixar look, right? So Pixar has dominated how things are supposed to look for many years, and then Spider-Verse came in and it changed that. But for us, like we didn't have anything. Ultimately, I'm just kind of happy that it somehow works.
Yeah, the thing about that video was like, look, everybody has been ripping off Pixar for the past 20, 30 years until Spider-Verse came out.
And now everyone's going Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and now everyone's going to rip off Spider-Verse. So,
and I love how Spider-Verse looks. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's super heavily art directed, and it looks incredible.
Okay, so here she's starting to step on the gravel. So let's put this in there. I know this is not that exciting to see me put footsteps down, but
this is part of it.
It is what it is, kids. All right, so that's way too high pitch. So we'll bring that volume down a little bit first, and then we'll change the pitch. I think a lot of this is just bringing the volume down. That could very easily get lost with the burning fire. So we got to be careful. Let's put that in there. Footstep number 2. Right around here. Now slow this down a little bit. Deepen the pitch a little bit. Important thing is you look at this waveform and you could see that the intensity of is basically around here. This is the loudest point, right? This is essentially all that is. It's like a volume peak here. So you just have to make sure that you kind of line that point up with the actual footstep, like the main part of the footstep where the weight lands. So let's see. And another one over there. So usually I'll put in like 4 or 5 original footsteps, and then at that point I could just start using the ones I've already laid down, just kind of copying them and pasting them. So just go to speed duration. Let's set this to like 70%. Bring this down. Something like that. Let's just take a look. This is like a double step, and it actually kind of works well with what she just did there. Luckily, you don't see the actual foot contact there, so it's very forgiving when you don't. And then she lands right out of camera. Let's put that in there. Speed duration, set it to like 70. All right, let's just zoom in real quick. Shift this over a smidge, bring this down. And we have this right here. Continuation. Lands right there. Look at the waveform, shift it, put that peak right where that line is, bring down the volume. Bring down, it's a little too high pitch for me, so again, I'll just go into the speed, 70%. It gives it a nicer feel. And then I'll bring down the volume a little bit. Now remember, there's pounding drums over all of this eventually. So a lot of this will be felt rather than actually heard. But yeah, everybody, Arcane. Yeah, everybody's just ripping off everybody. The thing is, the problem is, it's not that there's not amazing artists at every single one of these companies that would love to do something different. It's just that the people that are making the decisions are afraid of making really creative decisions. So they're
Ultimately, it's a
Yeah.
market for, it's a business that makes a lot of money. So
no one wants to try something completely fresh.
yeah, and that's where Spider-Verse was like, wow. And Arcane is not easy. I think that's actually super hard to get it to look like that.
Arcane looks incredible.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, but you're probably right that people go, oh, it's not real, so it must be easy, right? You're like, no. Oh, this is really nice. I think yours is quite unique and refreshing. Thank you. It turned out how it did because of our limitations, and we just somehow try to make it work. I feel like it's like, you know, someone's like, okay, you need to make something to eat, like a meal, but you only have like 2 or 3 ingredients, so make something.
Yeah, our movie's basically fried bologna and mayonnaise.
That's a great analogy. That's what it feels like for us. So we're like, okay, what were our limitations? One, we can't build environments from scratch. That would take too long. So we need to use Megascan assets as much as we can, right, for environments.
And really change them so they don't feel like mega scanned assets.
Yes, and then our characters will have to be stylized because we cannot handle photoreal on the new pipeline that we don't know how to do. So it's also more forgiving if our characters are more stylized. Like, I would say our hands are pretty ugly on these characters, but if you ever look at like stop motion stuff, they all have pretty ugly hands. Right? So I was like, okay, if we do it like this, and then the hands are not so whatever, this will work. And animation-wise, we can't do Pixar because we need to do mocap, and we can't hand animate things like really exaggerated and fluid, so we cannot do a Pixar look.
Yeah, I told Tran that I think a lot of like animator guys that are like masters of the craft of like hand animating 3D characters might not like this because they might think, oh, it's all mocap, gross. But you know, ultimately, we're not trying to be animators. We're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
And the only way we could do it was this way. Would we have loved to have had an army of Pixar level animators? Of course, but we don't have that. So
yeah, we don't have that. So the look of the characters is completely catered to like
our limitations.
To our limitation, it's more rough. We can't do Pixar, right? So let's try, you know, these kind of more stop motion look. Initially in the beginning, we did play around with not having any motion blur, but we didn't like that. We actually like motion blur a lot. So they end up having motion blur. It's so weird. Yeah, we did panic. Well, I panic a lot, like inside. Like, is this gonna look really bad? I'm just happy it looks like something cohesive.
Yeah. So you can see here, she's taking this last footstep here. So I grabbed the sound after that and I slowed it down to 20%. So it's just going to be a garbled mess, but it kind of works as she shifts her weight. Let's see. So maybe that's too much. So let's set it to like 30%. Listen. That kind of works. So let's hear it with the pounding drums, which will undo every single thing we just did, but let's hear it anyway. Let's bring this up. Let's hear it from the beginning. So from this part here. So I would like to hear some more of the characters of the crowd around there. So let's see if I have anything that I could use. Let's bring this back over here. So we'll move up to the crowd section, which is red. So I'll just right click, reveal in project, so I can see the original source. I believe this is all me.
That's just you whispering.
No, I think this is some of the Gnomon students, like Ty and Natalie and Crystal. I think so.
I can see that.
So let's just select a little section here. We'll just drag this down. And that's right. Let's put that right over here. I'll just expand this actually. Let's see what we have.
Question. Is this 6 months full time or evenings?
It's full time.
Yeah, full time. We also teach too, part time. So we've been working a lot.
Yeah. It's 10 minutes long in total, which is not bad. 10 minutes for a team of mostly 2 people. It's not bad. At the end, we're not throughout the whole thing. We have had help on the animation side and a ton of help towards the end.
Yeah, we have some students helping out, 2 students that helped us out on some effects.
Chris Borza,
And then some
Joey
animation
Park. Yeah,
students.
those guys helped. Well, those are the animation students. They helped a ton early on in the project.
Yeah, and they volunteered for it. No one is like forced to do anything.
Yeah.
So then we had one rigger, and then we had Chris, who was like a huge key player.
This is our facial rig guy.
Yeah, he's like incredible. Here's a good question. What do you think, based on your process, the biggest constraint for creators that want to make something like this? Getting mocaps?
The mocap. I mean, having a motion capture system is the only way we would have been able to finish this, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that even if Miguel and I were excellent animators, which we're not at all, it would just been slow. Because this is 10 minutes of hand animation is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Preview.
You would need just a big army of people to do that.
Yeah.
Preview.
So I'm looking for sounds for when these guys
Preview.
plant their spears down.
Preview. 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 Preview.
So you can see right here, it's just
Preview.
finding the proper wood sound.
Preview.
See, that sounds intense.
Preview.
These guys should give me a free account considering how much I promote them. Let's see. Various hits. That's not it.
I did manage to figure out my problem though
Oh, you did?
in the lighting.
Preview. Preview.
Too many-
Preview.
The problem is I had too many Niagara stuff, and the Niagara stuff I have in my scene were like dirt falling.
Uh-huh.
The dirt does not touch her, but it causes the mask to light her face up for some reason.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah, but it's not touching her. I don't like I would see that as a problem if it was like I had some like dirt like running through her face or something by accident, but it's not.
So here I'm just looking. You can see that these guys plant their spears down. Oh, I think I actually cut before that. So okay, so let's get these footsteps in here. The thing is, this is all we are keeping all of these footsteps. Like this will be in the final film. So I'm not just doing filler. Like this is actually super super important. If I don't get the sound to the sound guys like right away, we're not going to get this done.
So the music in this, the score has like that deep, I don't know what you call it, like it's not a moan, but it's like there's a vocal in there. Is that Dan? Did Dan do all that sound?
Yeah. The chant.
The chants, yeah.
Yeah, that's all Dan Dombrowski.
Dan's pretty talented. He even does like rap music for clients.
Pretty good.
And he will rap himself, and he's pretty good at rapping.
Yeah, he's a pretty talented guy.
Yeah, he's super talented.
So, all right, so let's see where those footsteps were. So these are our footsteps here. So what I'm going to do with the footsteps is I'll select all of these guys. Let me just make sure that these are footsteps. Yeah, so these are footsteps. So I'll just label them. I usually make them tan, which is like the ground color, right? So that I know those are footsteps. Or anything that's touching the floor, I make brown or tan. It's proper. So right there. So let's shift that. Let's zoom in a bit. So it's right there. Let's move this over a frame. Speed duration. So we want that kind of creaky wood sound, not such a sharp sound. So okay, that's good. Let's get another sound in there. So let's find another footstep. In point, out point. Where does that land? Right around there. Speed duration, 70%. Okay, that's good. So let's grab the old floor creaking. Speed duration, let's set that to like 60%. Drag volume down on that. Let's put another creak in there. Speed duration, 60%. Bring down the volume. So there is another footstep there. So let's just come back over here, find another footstep. That one probably is fine. Drag the sound only. It's right there. Let's do speed duration, 60%. Shift this over a smidge like this. Let's hear it. Okay, so let's do cracking floor or creaking floor. I keep saying cracking. So slow that down. Oh, I like that little sound at the end. Okay, so let's see what that does. So I need a sound when he actually touches it. So let's just look at our audio here. I might have something for this. It's a weird sound because it's an impact sound, but it's a very subtle sound. So I'm trying to find something that has almost nothing to it. So I'm going to look at slaps. So maybe this doesn't sound like it would work, right? He's picking up the mask there. But maybe if I grab that, I go to the speed duration and I set that to like 40%. Might not work. It's too loud, too high pitched. So let's try it again. Yeah, it doesn't work. So, you know, again, these are, this is like real world. It's not like a linear pre-planned tutorial. So a lot of stuff we're going to try and be like, that doesn't work. What about this? That doesn't work. All right, so let me just find something. I don't think that's going to work. Let me see if there's anything I could find on motion array. So I'll just come over here and go to touch. Sometimes it gets a little funky and it doesn't show anything, but let's see. In the meantime, while that's doing that, I'm going to keep looking. Yeah, you see, it's just not updating. Let me just try and see what's going on here.
Question: have you tried Audio Jungle?
No, I haven't. The one thing that I want to really try is this. There's a program called, it's from this company called Krotos Audio, and it's basically like a Foley program where you need to use like a MIDI controller, and you would load up like all the footsteps, for example, and then with the MIDI controller, you would just basically press them, and it would trigger random footsteps, but all of them are based off of this keyboard that you're using. So you just kind of like look at the video and just go click, 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 click as you're watching it, and then there you go. Those are your footsteps. Each one will sound different based on the note you press. They'll be deeper or higher pitch. So that's something that I definitely want to play with.
Preview. Preview.
So here we have, let's see what we have here. So this is pickup. These all sound like wood creaks, though. You can see it's still showing me wood creaks, which is weird.
What is the sound of picking something up?
A lot of it is it's fake.
Right, like if I pick up I pick
It's
up
like a
anything. I don't
slippery
hear.
thing.
I don't hear anything.
No, but you need it. You want it.
Of course, because you have a contact.
Yeah. Let's see what this is.
But
Preview.
I'm not
That's-
a sound person.
That's
I'd be
Super
terrible at
Mario
it.
getting a coin right there. Popping collect. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. It might be something that I might just like grab something or record myself picking something up.
Yeah, because I think sound of picking something up might be like logically what causes that. If you pick something up and something creaks, or if it rubs up against something. It's a dragging sound.
What I do have, yeah, what I do have is let's see. I have a really good dragging sound, like you're saying, that I could stretch out maybe a tiny bit. So I have a folder called Push, Drag, and Slide. Wood drag and sliding. So let's just hear that. Very. All right, so I know this seems crazy, but let's try that. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just grab this part up to here. Let's put that in there. Let's go to speed duration and set it to 500%. Go to our effects. Let's go to pitch shifter. Let's go to semitones and drop it to 0, and our sense drop it a little bit. That's as much as it's going. Okay. So let's just grab this right here. Right. There. It's probably going to be terrible, but let's try it. You don't know.
It's a super creative process.
So let's solo this layer so we only hear that one layer, and let's just see what we get. There you go.
Well, that it's like a little click. It kind of works.
Yeah, it kind of works. So what I might do,
It just didn't seem like it would work though.
just offset this. Up here. Just offset it right to that point right there. There. That works pretty well. It's a stupid little sound, but it's just it's an important sound. So I could go up to the keyframe where so you can see what I did is I went in there and I basically killed the sound in the beginning and the end, and I just made it peak right in the center. So the sound just comes in and out really fast. So I could move this over. A subframe almost. Go over here. I could bring up the volume a little bit higher. Let's try that. That's it. You just feel that something got snatched up. Stupid, but it works.
It does work.
Maybe what I could do is I could drag it out a smidge longer. So I like the attack in the beginning, like it's really quick, but let's make it drag out a little bit longer. So I just pull this out and I'll just have it feather out. Yeah, feels nicer. Maybe we can make it a slightly bit longer, representing like it's sliding a little bit on the wood. So see. Maybe too much.
Yeah, it like changed it a lot.
That works. Just bring that in. Oh, okay. So now he picks it up. He's taking a step back out of camera. So let's just select that footstep that's right there. That in there. There we go. So let's hear that from right here. So here, when we see the priest for the first time, I want to get a little impact. So like around here. So I'll just go to my sound, and I have a whole music instruments section. And let's just listen to some. Okay, so let's put that in there. And since this is more musical, I'm going to bring this down here. Put it right around there. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's set it to like 60%. Bring down the volume big time. All right, that's cool. Let's get a bass drum in there. That's too Lord of the Rings. Let's put that in. So it's like a drums. You rarely hit the cymbals without hitting the bass drum. They go together. All right, let's hear the guy speaking.
Kutenganisha walio na nguvu kutoka kwa wahafifu. Kuvuka katikati ya miale umendaji wa kike.
All right, let's hear it from where we started today, so right there.
Bali tu wanaokaa wana thamani ndio watakaovaa barakoa. Kutenganisha walio na nguvu kutoka kwa wahafifu. Kuvuka katikati ya miale, mtaji wa kike. Piga magoti, ala.
Our lovely touch sound. There you go, guys. Now you know how to make a touch sound. So, all right. So let's see. We're gonna wrap it up. I don't know if you guys can handle more than that touch sound. So
Yeah.
this is awesome.
I think I want to wrap back up to here. If I can share my screen.
Yeah.
I can't seem to share it so easily. So I did figure out this problem. So I know that people probably join in at different times. So let me pull up a shot where I was having the issue here. Give me 1 second. I still want to do some adjustments. I think the lens flare is too strong. So the shot was running out really messed up. Right, her face was glowing. There's like a weird light source in there, and there is no light in there. And I realize the problem is too many Niagara stuff. So I have like this dirt falling, and it's they're all just Niagara stuff I bought off the marketplace. And I just reduced it, and now it renders correctly. So you can see what it's supposed to look like. So now that fixed it, which was weird because none of that stuff is actually touching the character, but it just made it like that for whatever reason. And if I just reduce it and just put less, it fixed it. And now it looks like it was supposed to, but it broke it in very strange ways. There's also no lens flare. Now I have lens flare because I removed one Niagara thing.
That's so weird.
Yeah, as I said, it's all very weird. I don't understand. You know, I can see too many things, I guess, but you think that lens flare is too strong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring it down. So that just fixed that, which was, again, I don't get it, but whatever.
So Homo sapien says he wants to study at Gnomon, but he has no money. That's, you know, that's the realities of his, you know, education. Any school is expensive.
It's super expensive.
Any school is expensive.
Yeah.
But if you don't have money, I mean, I'll tell you this: you'll definitely get your money's worth if you go. But there's always a Gnomon online. Like you could learn all this stuff by doing the
you can also
online stuff.
just do the workshops. So the workshop is like a subscription, I think, and there's a lot of.
Well, that's what I.
Oh, you mean online?
Oh yeah. You're
online
right.
has online courses.
Yes, you're right. So Gnomon workshop.
Yeah,
It's
they have
just their
classes
DVDs.
online. They have classes on campus, and then there's workshops which are filtered to have really high-end professionals teaching you, and that's much cheaper.
Yeah, so you could just do that. Just pay for the subscription, watch all their stuff. You can just do that, and you're gonna learn. You're not gonna have the back and forth of an instructor, of course, which is a big thing. But if you can't afford it and that's your only option, then I would definitely do that. And then coming to these streams and learning from people that are there and asking questions.
And I think it also might be easier to specialize in something rather than try to become like a generalist. Like I can see how Gnomon produces really strong generalists, meaning like some students are good at multiple things. Like they can light well, they can model well, they texture well, they composite well, and that could be harder without that education. But maybe specializing in something, being more specific. Yeah, I mean that's how I kind of was. I specialized first.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if
second
anybody has any
question?
questions, if the second project. Yeah, the second project will be StreamNet Bug. It will be completely different. As of right now, we want to do it live action with Unreal shots, photoreal,
Yeah,
and
because
it's going to be horror.
we're very afraid to do live action type stuff on the first thing, and now we're going to do live action in the second
Yeah,
thing.
we still have no idea what the hell we're going to do, and we're probably going to make a disaster like we did on this in the beginning and then get it by the very end. Like Tran was saying just the other day, like she feels like we finally got the workflow down on this. Like, and just when you're done, like you finally figured out how to do it right. So, but yeah, we want to change it up. So one of the big things that we want to do on the next thing is implement the Vive Mars for tracking. So it would record the camera movements on a real camera. We would transfer that into Unreal, shoot some stuff green screen with the environments being comped in later. So we're not going to use the LED stages. It would be all done in post. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and listening to us ramble on about footsteps and lights breaking.
Okay.
So we appreciate it. And yeah.
Yeah, next one will be very different. We'll probably have to do a lot of previs. So we'll be using Unreal to do final look, final render, and then to help visualize our story.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, that's probably where Unreal will play a bigger part on the next one. Is we want to just run everything through MetaHumans just to figure out all the edit and the story first and then shoot it. We probably are going to have a camera guy go when we shoot it. So it won't be live, but we'll put like how we shot it, the whole process. So
Yeah.
it'll be completely different than this. But I think that makes it more exciting for us and hopefully for you guys too. So, yeah. Cool. So we're out of here. If you want to follow our work, follow us on Instagram at Half Empty Studios. That's usually where we post our stuff first. So, yeah. So thank you guys. Yeah. Have a good day.
Bye.